can take care of some business and Shannon can join us. I'd like to call the February 10th, 2022 L&O Committee to order. Attendance, we have Chairman Ralph Figge, Committee Member James Adams, Committee Member Mike Burns, Community Development Director PJ Miller, Caitlin Bruce from the Clerk's Office, our solicitor, Shannon Reed, City Solicitor. We have William Oninsky, an iPhone, and we have Mark Dupuy. Did I miss anybody?
Councilor Figge, I'm on as the iPhone. My computer audio is not working.
All right, you're coming in real loud and clear, so that works for me.
Okay, I turned the computer, I put it on mute for now, but I don't know why I can't have any sound on my computer.
Well, you sound so much better now.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is a approval of the minutes from the February 1st meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of the February 1st, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Motion is made in second. Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, roll call vote. Attorney, I just promoted you, Counselor Adams.
Yes.
Counselor Burns?
Yes.
Counselor Figge? Yes, item passes 3-0. We come to the part of the meeting for public participation. Does anybody in the audience like to address the L&O Commission? 15 minutes is the limit and 3 minutes per person. Anybody out there? Last call. Any public participation? Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing approval for the mayor to sign a host community agreement with Richter Extract, 69 Neck Road, for an adult use marijuana production facility. I do believe Mr. Dupuy is here.
Yes, sir. Just let me know what you need.
Well, why don't you start by giving us a general overview of your project?
Okay, Richter Extracts. It is my company 100%. I am the sole owner of Richter Extracts. Currently, we are operating here under ProGrow LLC, doing hemp cultivation and hemp manufacturing. The plan is to apply. We have already applied with the CCC. I have been approved as a social equity applicant because of a previous arrest that I had. So I am a social equity applicant. The plan is to open within approximately 6 months of receiving final approval from the CCC. The products that we will make there include topicals, concentrates, extracts, edibles, basically any product manufactured with cannabis and hemp. As you'll be reading next, Richter Cannabis will also be in the same building as us. That's the plan. Richter Extracts will take up about 5,000 square feet. Richter Cannabis will take up the rest of the building. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know what else you guys are looking for. So.
All right, well, I'll open it up to my committee members, see if they have any questions. Anybody have any questions of the applicant?
Nope.
All right. Mr. Dupuy, do you still need to go in front of the planning board? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, planning, I believe wetlands, because this is a floodplain here. I'm pretty sure that that's going to require some kind of approval.
Yeah, conservation.
Yeah, and then city council, I think, is I don't know if that's before or after the mayor. I don't know how that works.
Okay, so what we have in front of us tonight is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the host agreement, which I think is that part you just referred to, the city council.
Okay, I got you.
If there's something additional.
No, yeah, so this is Peter Miller, Community Development Director. I can provide just a little bit of background on the project and the review process that this was actually done under the previous administration. So yes, this is the only requirement for the city council to hear relative to the Richter, either of these, any of these HCA's, the only thing that you do is authorize the mayor to sign. So this would be the only time that they would be in front of you for any kinds of approvals. Relative to that HCA, you do have a copy of it. It is actually pretty much the same standard version that we have done previously. There are, I shared a spreadsheet with Chairman Figge earlier today. I believe there are 9 across the city. 5 of those, I believe, are cultivation projects. 1 other is a product manufacturing, and the remaining there's 1 that's a laboratory facility for testing, and the last 4 are actual retail facilities. We do have 2 retail facilities locally that are open at this point in time. HECA opened a few months ago, and Cannabis Connection has been open for over a year now. Those have gone relatively smoothly from an operational perspective. There hasn't been a major impact to the community as it relates to any increase in crime or necessarily any marked increase in traffic or anything along those lines. The market is beginning to mature to an extent. I mean, certainly there's room for a number of additional businesses to get here, but by being mature, you're not seeing the things like the lines that you saw at the beginning of the process when I don't know, it was Netta or Insa, I think it's Netta in Northampton, when you saw the lines there. That just doesn't happen at this point in time. It's a more traditional business. The first inquiry we received. So all of my communications relative to this project have been through Mr. Dupuy's attorney through I believe it was Bacon Wilson. But the first time we heard through this was in February of last year. I believe it was February of last year was an inquiry was made of the city to approve. That inquiry had some additional had fencing and a few things that we just in the floodway were of concern to us. Then in June of last year, Mr. Dupuy submitted these 2 applicants. I don't know if he submitted both of them, but the 2 with the same name were submitted at the same time in June. Richter Cannabis and Richter Extracts. Those are there's no alteration to the outside of the building. There's no additional digging, no real disturbance in the floodway or floodplain. So they had met that criteria. Mayor Humison at the time reviewed the documents of which you have the experience, both the experience of the applicants and their some of their business plan. He was satisfied by those, and then submitted the host community agreement that you see in front of you tonight. So that's kind of where we're at with it. I know that there's 2 separate ones, and I'm trying to recall. I don't know what. I know one of them had somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 employees. I can't remember which one. Extract, if there was additional employees that were part of that filing.
Richter would have its own employees, but it would be minimal. It'd be like 10. So
okay. So that's really the extent of what I have relative to the project. But I'm certainly willing to answer any questions you might have from the city perspective.
Well, thank you. I have another question, Mr. Dupuy. If I'm not mistaken, there's quite a bit of land that goes along with this building.
There's 30 acres of the parcel.
Yeah.
My lease only includes the building and approximately 4 acres behind the building.
Okay, so you won't be taking a whole parcel.
No, I do have a site plan that's already prepared by Holmberg and Associates. and that I plan to submit. I have one for Richter Extracts and one for Richter Cannabis. Shows the existing conditions, the proposed conditions, parking, signage, all of those requirements.
Yeah, that will be of great interest of the planning board. So that's good that you have those.
And then the owners, there's some extra space on the property, and they have been doing like industrial storage here for years, and I assume that that's going to continue as it has been.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, through the chair.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is an appropriate question, but I just, because it was on our paperwork, I see something about, will you be coming for another host agreement for home delivery operation? Is that, I assume that's a separate host agreement, and I didn't know where that was at this point.
Yes, we'd like to. That was pending the approval for the social equity application. Delivery is limited for 3 years to only social equity applicants. It's something we're looking into. It's not a very profitable business. The way it's set up, you have to have 2 people in the vehicle at all times and all this stuff that's just has not been very attractive. There's also a delivery, which is just being a courier, where you would, engage with one of the other dispensaries to be their delivery agent. We're looking into that. But most importantly, eventually I would like to try to apply for the social on-site consumption here. That is another one that's limited to social equity applicants. I know it was 3 years. They're looking to extend that, I think, for another 3 years. And I think that's really important for people to sit down and realize that, there's nowhere to legally consume this cannabis. As I've mentioned in other meetings, the only place in Westfield is to sit literally, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but people just sit in lawn chairs in front of the Hilton and just smoke marijuana that they buy from Cannabis Connection. I notice it regularly. I've stayed at the hotel. I've had friends stay there. It's sure they get complaints about having to clean the smell out of there all the time. So I think this area is really well suited for that. It's probably one of the more private industrial areas in Westfield. And another thing that I'll just say while we're talking about future plans is I'm only a 10% owner of Richter Cannabis. They would like to propose some sort of outdoor cultivation facility on already disturbed land behind the building. So that's something that's going to come up where I don't know if the host community agreement is limited to indoor, outdoor cultivation, but the partners who are the main owners of that company, they have expressed that they definitely want to give it a shot. The reason is the environmental impact, the power that's used, that sort of stuff. It is not going to be a long-term business. People that are doing indoor cultivations in the next 5 years will be significantly impacted by the mass size outdoor cultivations that other towns are approving without much, special requirements, as it's a seasonal crop. Like other crops, if you do any crop, they manure the field seasonally. That smells, that's just the way of life for agriculture. There's going to be some seasonal stuff to deal with. It's, not going to be any more extreme than the 15 acres of hemp that I grew here the last 2 years. I didn't receive a single complaint from anybody on smell or anything like that down here for that. And I was wondering maybe if you guys had received any complaints for the smell. So
I can say I have not heard anything relative to the operation at Neck Road. I have just heard no complaints at this point. I'm not familiar with and I'd have to do some research. We have not had any requests at this point in time for outdoor cultivation. As Mr. Dupuis said, I would expect that may happen sometime over the course of the next couple of years, but there's nothing in front of us relative to that at this point. We have had, like I said, 5 5 indoor cultivation requests. There are 2 indoor cultivation that are in operation at this point in time. I believe the Hecka cultivation is underway, and the hidden hickory, or I can't remember the name. It's one of those, the hidden hemlock up on Appermont Way, Airport Road, the former Berkshire Industries site. That's about 5,000 square feet of gross space. So it's not a really big one, but that one I believe is underway as well. We have a couple of others that are out there. One small one, the Lucky 7 Cannabis, which hasn't started its building yet, but it's on its way. We also have Sun Grown, which is on Progress Ave. That's about 30,000 square foot facility that's been approved by the planning board. Again, I don't believe that there's much construction having happened, but I haven't been up there in a little while. And the last one is Pioneer Valley, which is one of our retail licensees as well. And they're going up on Maderos Way. But they have not broken ground yet, but they've been through the planning board as well.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the last one. I watched their meeting, and I'm personally a cannabis consultant. I listened. The main concern was smell for their greenhouses that they're doing. They had proposed some sort of plan with like smell reduction and water misting and that sort of stuff, which is nice, but that's really not gonna keep smell from leaving the property. I didn't hear any explanation of how the cannabis was going to be, harvested and transported between the greenhouses and the facility. And I just didn't really believe during the winter you can even use that sort of, mist to keep the smell down. But regardless, it would be, if we did do an outdoor, it would be behind a fence. We'd be willing. I did a project in Arizona exactly like this. It was, a 25,000 square foot building, and they had 5 acres outside. And we put up a really nice, solid steel corrugated fence that you couldn't even see through. So no one even knew it was on the other side. And then we set room along the outside of it for like landscaping beds and that kind of stuff to improve the, overall aesthetics. And that's really what we'd be looking to do is fence it. It would be contained right next to the building, on the back side, which would face toward the cornfields and where the waste plant is. So that's something you're going to see, because I know we're going to be, submitting that sort of. We're going to submit a couple different plans and try to do what we can. That's what we plan on. So
I think the challenge with that, and it's not for me to make a determination, but the fencing in the floodplain floodway is going to be a conservation issue that they'll certainly take a look at. But
yeah, we spoke with the landlord, and they said that there's the most of the issue with the floodplain is you have to be able to break it down in 12 hours or something like that. Like you have to be able to have a quick breakdown time. And there are designs where you can put the pole in the ground and then pin it at the bottom, so you could literally take the fence down in a couple hours.
Yep.
Okay. So getting back to the matter at hand, and this is a production facility, correct? Because we've been talking about a whole lot of different things.
Richter Extracts, just production facility. That's right.
Okay. So any other questions, comments? Do I hear a motion? Okay, excuse me, Councilor Burns.
Real quick. At you say 65 Dan Neck? Is that the old pipe building with it?
It's 69 Neck, NECK. And yeah, it's the old Richter pipe factory.
I know where it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? I'm willing to entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a positive motion submitting a resolution authorizing approval for the mayor to sign a host agreement with Richter Extract 69 Neck Road for an adult use marijuana production facility.
There's a motion. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. Any further discussion or comments? We'll have a roll call vote. Counselor Figgy, yes. Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Burns.
No.
Okay. Motion passes 2-1. This will be forwarded to the agenda for a week from tonight at the city council for the full council's consideration. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, so the next one we have, let me get my paperwork straight. Is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a host community agreement with Richter Cannabis 69 Neck Road for an adult use marijuana cultivation facility. Won't mind me, it's just a little bit of trivia falling off the ground. Mr. Dupuy, you pretty much described your production facility. You want to give us a quick overview of the cultivation?
Yes, so Richter Cannabis, it will incorporate the rest of the building. I think that's about 21,000 square feet. They would also have the 4 acres behind the building if that were to move forward. And that would be an outdoor area. But if that doesn't go forward, we'd still move forward just as an indoor cultivation. I'm a minority partner on Richter Cannabis. This is a group that I brought in from Colorado and Oregon. The 2 owners are Michael Simonian and Vinny Vinaccia, I think. I messed his last name. I'm sorry about that. These guys, they operate Haven Dispensary Group in California. You can look them up. They run, I believe, 9 dispensaries right now in Southern California. So they're very, very experienced. I think they have a total of 200,000 or 300,000 square feet of canopy right now in production across numerous locations. The deal that they're doing is they're coming in, they're going to build out the whole facility. They're going to invest, approximately $3 million. As soon as we're approved, it's going to start. There's going to be no delays. And the employees are about 30, I believe is what it said.
I think it's 37 on this list, on the previous, yep.
So that's it's approximate. And according to our application, we're going to try to hire 50% of our employees from Westfield and 50% of our employees from remaining communities that have had disproportionate impact. And that is just based off of, I think it's like gross income per capita or something like that. And we're gonna be the top company here in Westfield. I don't know what you guys know, but Hecka and Cannabis Connection, if I didn't help those guys, they wouldn't be open. That's just a fact. So we're going to move forward, and we're going to make sure we're number 1 here in Westfield.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee? Okay. So once again, this is for a resolution to allow the mayor to sign the host agreement. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'm going to vote for a negative recommendation for resolution authorizing approval for the mayor to sign a host community agreement with Richter Cannabis 69 Neck Road for an adult use marijuana cultivation facility.
Okay, so let me clarify the motion. It's been made and seconded, and that is for a negative recommendation for the resolution, correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
All right, let's have a roll call.
I don't know how appropriate it is, but can I get an explanation of why or no?
Well,
At this point.
Okay.
We're going here. All right, Counselor Adams. So
Just
yes.
to clarify the vote, is this a yes for a negative? This is a yes for a
no.
negative.
Yeah, this is one of those yeses, no.
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Figgy, no. Okay, this will also be reported out to the full council on Thursday night next week for their full consideration. All right, where's my agenda? Thank you. Thanks, Mark, for coming in. Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to enter into a funding agreement with the Elm Street Urban Renewal Project. PJ, can you explain this? Help us understand.
Sure.
this,
So,
please?
yeah, every year in the budget, as you're aware, they pretty much, they put a $15,000 line item in for the Westfield Redevelopment Authority from general fund revenues into an account. And over the course of the past 7 or 8 years, with the exception of last year, we've come to the city council for a funding agreement to transfer that $15,000 from the general fund account to the revolving account that is under the that's under the control of the Westfield Redevelopment Authority. So at this point in time, the Westfield Redevelopment Authority has about $40,000 in its account. This would bring us to $55,000. And for the what basically this is it allows us to operate more like a checkbook in a lot of ways. And it's still under the control of the city auditor. Anything that we spend out of the redevelopment authority at this point is subject to purchase orders and the entire auditing purchasing process that the city employs. But this just allows us to carry that money over and have an operating account for the WRA. At this point in time, I'm happy to talk a little bit about where we're at with it, with the project. But this year, what we anticipate is so last year we put it out for an RFP and didn't receive any responses. The feedback that we've gotten over the course of the last 2 RFPs has been, and I don't think this is a surprise to anyone, is in order to develop that site, it's going to require significant subsidy from some kind of program, and really we've only really identified 2, maybe 3 sources that you can get subsidy from. And number one would be the easiest one, which is from affordable housing projects. So there's a ton of money out there for developers to develop housing that's affordable to people of lower moderate income, similar to any of the DOMUS projects that we've had. It's low income housing tax credits. People up to 80% of the area median income could live in the building, but they are income restricted apartments. Second would be for us to do some sort of a public project there, which, I mean, it could be anything. It could be a bill. It could be I'm not going to mention specific things, but it could be any kind of a municipal use. We talked about the police station potentially there. We've talked about possibly developing a park. We talked about the community center. At one point, the senior center was potentially going to go there. So those are really the only 2. And the political feedback that I've received from people both at the administrative level and just the public in general is there's real skepticism to low income, the affordable housing component of the project. Depending on what happens in some of our other vacant properties that are down there, it becomes a question of whether or not there's too much concentrated low income housing in the downtown. So the course of the last year, we've kind of taken a pause. There was a couple reasons that the board didn't want to meet virtually, so we didn't do much meeting through the time when the building was closed. We have been meeting since July or since June. We've been meeting in person in the building, discussing the project. But at this point in time, we're trying to investigate what other avenues there might be outside of the housing world. And that's what this $15,000 would go toward, would be to, right now we've hired our Levesque Associates to do a concept plan for temporary park for some grant money from the state, from Mass DOT, to see if we can do do some plaza improvements at least on the grassed site near Newberry's parking lot. And we just want to figure out how best to clean it up, because until such time as we make a determination as to what we want to put there, we want to make it look, we need it to be clean, presentable, and contribute something to downtown. So that's basically what we're looking to spend the money on this year, is to do some concept planning, to do an appraisal again on the project. Any appraisals that we have been expired, and anything that we were to do, if we were to sell the property, would be required to have an appraisal associated with it to figure out what a fair market value for it is. So we're plugging away. It's not as simple as we hoped it would be, but that's kind of where the WRA stands at this point.
Thank you, PJ. I have a couple questions. Does anybody else have any questions before I go?
You can go first, Ralph. I just had one, but maybe you have the same question.
All right. PJ, you said there's 40-some thousand already in this account. We're gonna add another 15.
Yep.
What happens if you don't expend all that money? Does that come back to the general fund?
So we, and all these funding agreements, part of the language in them is that should the WRA should the WRA sell the property, any funds that are generated from the sale would go back to the city, and that we would end up paying that back.
Okay, all right. Councilor Adams?
Yeah, and PJ, thanks I know this is a big undertaking for sure. So I absolutely agree with putting some more money in here and keeping this project going. So we got a lot invested for sure. I just had a question. So we're voting on a resolution for the funding agreement. Is something coming from the mayor into finance after this, or is this all going to be?
No, this is it. Yeah. So the budget, it's already been approved as a budget item.
Okay.
So when you voted the budget back in June, this 15,000 was put into the WRA item. So you've already approved the money. This is just to approve the transfer of it from the general fund to the revolving fund.
Okay, great. No, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a positive recommendation, submitting a resolution to enter into a funding agreement for the Elm Street Urban Renewal Project.
Is there a second?
As soon as I get unmuted, yes, second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call. Councilor Adams.
Yes.
Councilor Burns.
Yes.
Councilor Figgy. Yes. Motion passes 3-0.
Can I add something just real quick? The total amount would be 55,926.52
Yeah, that would be our
with the 15,000.
our ledger balance with the 15, correct.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to our next, which is a resolution for consent to encroachment agreement for the James Hardy Building. Attorney Reed, would you bring us up to snuff on this?
Sure. So you all recall James Hardy Building Products Incorporated purchased 70 Turnpike Industrial Way, and with plans to locate a business there. And then COVID hit, kind of slowed their plans down. They've revamped their plans. You all just voted on a TIF. So what now the project looks like does now require, or what they're looking to do would have the building actually go over an easement that the city has on that parcel. So the city holds an easement over the property for the installation and maintenance of a storm drain. We discussed this with engineering and the Department of Public Works, and it's not unusual to have a building over a storm drain easement as long as we're able to have access. And on your share drive, there's an exhibit to this consent to encroach agreement, and it shows that there's manholes outside of where the building footprint would be located. So what James Hardy is looking to do is just have the city be in agreement on a couple of minor matters, allowing them to put the building over our easement is sort of not a minor matter, but a major matter. But what they're looking for is just to some written agreement from the city that we are okay with that, and that the city would take all reasonable efforts to access our easement through those manholes that are not underneath the building or underneath the proposed footprint of the building. And if the opportunity should arise, that we would be willing to entertain as long as it wasn't overly burdensome, moving the storm drain. It's about a well-functioning storm drain. Our stormwater coordinator had went up and took a look at it. I don't think there's any concerns. I think it's been there for decades and there hasn't been any issues with it. So I don't think that anybody's anticipating anything, but this just kind of memorializes that the city is okay with their building footprint going over where our easement is, and that the city is agreeing to take all reasonable measures to maintain the drainage infrastructure for the manholes and use the best efforts to cause the least amount of interference in their business operations should we have to access through their building. So this is just a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign, similar to what you've done and other things tonight.
Questions? I have one. Will there be a manhole inside of their building?
I don't believe so. The exhibit that I'm looking at shows there's two manholes on the outside of the footprint. I don't think there's a manhole on the inside.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Saying, Councilor Burns.
Yeah, so DPW and Stormwater have approved this?
Yes. DPW, stormwater, and engineering all had a look.
Okay, did this go through the DPW commission or?
No, the commission didn't need to approve it. It was just more of an operational issue. Asking the DPW staff if this is, precedent for this, if there was issues.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
If they had concerns with a building footprint going over a storm drain.
Okay, anything else? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for a positive recommendation for resolution for consent to an encroachment agreement for James Hardy Building.
Second,
Been made and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Councilor Burns.
yes.
Councilor Figgy, yes. Councilor Adams.
Yes.
This passes 3-0 and go on the agenda for next Thursday's meeting.
All right, thank you. I'm off to finance. We'll see you all later.
Okay, we'll follow you shortly. Okay, anything else, guys? Anything that we did not anticipate? Okay, before we go, who wants to take the host agreement?
You,
Ralph, you tell us whatever you want.
Good night, boys. Have fun.
All right, I'll take
Taking
the
that
first
route.
one. I'll take the first one. Mr.
I'll do the
Adams,
second one.
The other one,
I'd be
I'll
happy to
take-
take the second one.
I'll take Hardy.
second one. What do you got?
Take you, Hardy.
Okay,
Hardy.
Mr. Hardy,
You want me to do the urban renewal?
sure.
I'll do 6 and 7.
All right. I'll do 5, you do 6, 7, and Mike, you'll do 8.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right.
Mike
got it,
always gets
Mr.
the
Chair.
easy one. Why does Mike get the
Okay.
easy one?
Kate, you gonna put the minutes out before Thursday, right? All right, just send them to us. Thank you.
And Kate,
As always.
Kate, will you make sure all these items get on the agenda, please?
Yes.
Atta girl, appreciate it.
Motion to
Anything-
adjourn at
Second.
6:09 PM.
Motion been made,
Second.
seconded. Roll call vote. Counselor Figgy, yes. Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Burns.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Meeting.